Hey guys, Tim Charlo here with Conversations in Bayou Creative, and today we're sitting down with somebody very near and dear to my heart. My first cousin and brother, Harold Batiste, who's the founder of Bespoke Batiste here in Lafayette, Louisiana. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you on the other side. Cheers. Harold, thank you so much for sitting down with me today,
You're
man.
welcome,
So,
man.
for the people at home who don't know who are you and what do you do?
All right. I'm Harold Batiste, designer, owner, founder of Bespoke Batiste Collection. I'm a tailor clothier here in the Lafayette, Louisiana, Acadiana area. We service Lafayette surrounding areas and other states in the country. We've sent suits and tuxedos out. So no, man, just here being creative and doing what God blessed me and made me to do.
Absolutely. And don't forget husband and father.
Well,
Which,
that's first and foremost, right? I tell people all the time, man, that this is what I do. This is what God has blessed me to do, and He allows me to share my gift with the world, and it's really a testament to what He can do through anybody's life, what He's doing through my life, and just allowing me to dream in fabric. But that's just
Dream in
that's
fabric.
what, yeah. And so that's what I do. But I tell people all the time, Andy, at the drop of a dime, that husband and father. That's my main job.
Absolutely.
That is my main job. My world revolves around them. I'm a servant to them.
Absolutely.
My main obligation.
You're a servant to your clients.
Absolutely.
You're a servant leader.
Absolutely. Absolutely, man.
That's what we do.
My lovely wife, Latoya, and I have been married for going on 17 years. Two kids, one 15, one 10. My boy is 15. My daughter, Aria, is
How
is
old
10.
is Bespoke Batiste now?
Bespoke Batiste, man, that's a tricky question because I always feel like it's older than what it is on paper, right? Because I've dreamed and kind of planned this thing out in my mind and even sketching on paper for so many years, but officially it'll be 5 years in May.
5 years as a legal entity.
5 years.
But we were kids, and we'll tell the people at home we're first
Yeah.
cousins. We're
Yeah,
close-
yeah.
We're brothers.
More like brothers than
Yeah,
anything.
but legally
More
first
like
cousins.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
You've
yeah.
been sketching. You've sketched tattoos for most of the family members. And
Yeah, I've always been pretty fond of a pen and pad, just sketching and drawing, as you know, was always been a passion of mine. Again, God blessed me with that, man. And, I was just able to do it naturally. And obviously growing up in fashion, our family they're pretty fashion forward, if you will. And, I don't know, fashion and art collided for me sometime when I was just a boy. And it took a while to come out. I guess the Lord was cultivating it.
One of Yves Saint Laurent's monikers was "Fashions fade, style is eternal,"
Absolutely.
and that's one of the things I've always latched on to. I was so jealous as a kid of your artistic capabilities. As you know, I can't draw stick figures, right? So
Man.
when we were kids, we would paint together, and you always paint these beautiful
All
things.
this
I could just
stuff.
put ink on a page. Like
Yeah,
I remember
yeah.
that time. That time
Come
I
on,
was
jog my
taking
memory.
that paint in your bedroom, and the red paint,
Did it
that
go
top
everywhere?
flew off and it went everywhere.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's the most artistic thing I've ever done in my entire life.
Happy little accidents, man.
It is. So where did the name Bespoke Batiste originate? And did you go through other iterations before landing on that name?
Yeah, I did. Well, yes and no, because as you know, my wife and I was involved in the life insurance industry. I'm gonna try not to draw this question out, but it's a story
It's a big
behind it,
question.
man. And so I've always been pretty decent with my composition. I always present myself well in fashion, and even prior to starting this brand. And we're having a meeting at the office where we did life insurance, and walked into the office to talk to one of the partners, and this guy, his name is Jeremy Desatel.
Okay.
And we go into the office, and he goes, "Hey man, when are you gonna start your own clothing line?" I'm like, "Man, what are you like?" I'm like, "This guy barely knows me."
Yeah.
I'm like, and I was just it shocked me, but I kind of didn't show it. And I was like, I thought about it, man, but Jay, I called him Jay. I'm like, "Jay, I really don't know what I would call it." He's like, "Well, think about it for a minute, man. I'm gonna think of some stuff and I'll let you know." Maybe 5 minutes later, he was like, "Hey, I got it." And I'm like, "What?" He's like, "I got the name for your brand." He said, "How about Bespoke Batiste?" And I was like,
my.
"Man, let me think about it. I don't know." And really and truly, I didn't know what it meant, bro. Like, bespoke. I'm like, all right, let me go and do my homework and see what this really means. Like, I don't like to do anything that don't have a meaning or something that just sound cool. I want it to really have a meaning. And so I went and looked up what it meant and found out it was obviously, pertaining to custom clothing and one-off type stuff. And I'm like, okay, well, Batiste. I'm like, I knew I'd want my last name to be on whatever brand I own because I feel like that's what I'm rooted in. It's where I'm from. That the place I come from is what I'm composed of.
Yep,
If that
absolutely.
makes sense. And so I'm like, well, let me just look up the meaning of Batiste, and it's linen or silk cloth. It's a fine fabric. And I'm like, wow, I think that's perfect. But let me go over some other names first. And I sat on it for a while, and I'm like, one night we was at the house, me and my wife was just talking. I'm like, that's it. So Latoya, that's it. She's like, what's it? I'm like, Bespoke Batiste. She's like, okay. And that's where it started. I kind of ran with it. So credit to Jeremy.
Hey, hey, plug to Jeremy. I like
Cool
it.
cat,
I
man.
hope he's
Cool
doing
cat.
well. I hope
He
he's doing
is,
well.
man. He is.
I don't imagine we're paying him royalties, are we?
No, man. So he was one of those guys, man, that you meet people that you don't really know, but you kind of take liking to them. They take liking to you,
Absolutely.
and relationships
They
pretty
become a
pretty
main character in your
organic,
chapter,
you know. And he was a really giving person. He was always lending advice and stuff like that, man. And so he openly gave me advice, man, and motivation at the time. So, but not a good guy.
You mentioned the insurance world that you were in.
Yeah.
Were you designing clothes for people while you were in that world, or when did you first design your first piece of habiliment, as it's called?
So no, I wasn't designing for people in that industry, although I wanted to because I understood how they dressed, and I kind of and I'm gonna give you a disclaimer. In a non-judgmental way, I pick fashion apart. Right.
Okay. Yeah, I do the same thing.
I
I know what you
look
mean.
at and study fashion. I'm like, okay, I would wear it. I would have done that way. I would have worn that way. And I would have cut it this way if I was styling this person. And I always wanted to. But truth is, I was still kind of in this bubble or in this introverted shell of mine. And I was reserved to, I guess, offer my gift to anybody. But at the same time, I'd still get home and go into my home office and start sketching and writing down concepts and stuff like that. So being around people that dressed a lot motivated me and inspired me, but I'd write it down or I would draw it.
Unofficial research and development.
Yeah, for the
not
most
realizing
part.
what it was.
And so, but my first design was done over probably maybe about 20 years ago. I designed
didn't even know that.
Right? Yeah. So the suit I got married in is the very first thing I designed.
And you had it made?
Yeah, I had it made. There was an African tailor here in Lafayette. He worked at Men's Warehouse, and his name was Ba.
I remember.
And so it was crazy because I had this sketch in my portfolio, and I'm having this conversation with him. And I'm like, I'll bring you the sketch, and we'll see if you can make it. He was like, sure, bring the sketch by. And he was just this kind of calm confidence. I'm like, he's not excited, but he's super calm. I don't know how to perceive this guy. Can he do it or can he not? But it was just his really calm confidence. So I brought it to him. Long story short, he made it. I did like
It was dope.
I did like 5 or 6 fittings, and I'm looking at the garment before it was done, and I'm losing my mind. I'm like, man, I trusted this guy with my design. Is it gonna happen? And it did. Yeah. And so that's the first thing I designed that actually came to life. And so everything after that just was on a sketch pad and never saw the light of day until I started this.
That's crazy.
And then there was one time, I'm sorry, I take it back.
Oh, no, yeah.
I was visiting a store. This was, oh Lord, fast forward many, many years, probably 6, 7 years ago. And I'm in this store here in Lafayette that this guy was giving me the custom shirts. And this is another guy that spoke into my life. He said, Harold, you got a really unique style. You should be in fashion. I know you're in life insurance, but you should really be in fashion. I'm gonna franchise this and I'll have you run one of my stores. And in my mind, I'm like, man, I appreciate that. That means a lot to myself. And I just told him, like, we'll see. But I didn't really share with him. I've always aspired to do it. I was just like, it was kind of weird. I'm like, is this a sign, And so I'm like, I don't know. But I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, okay, if I do this fashion thing, I'm not gonna go work for anybody else. It's gonna be for me. And so he's like, look, man, I do custom shirts, man. You have anything you'd want to have made? And so I had this linen idea of a linen shirt. It was like I don't know, this very nice aquatic blue with, I believe, maybe like a lavender or lilac cuff. I designed it to wear like on the beach. And I'm like, I'll see if he can do this shirt, And so I took it to him, had the sketch with color and everything. I'm like, this is what I want to do. Can you do it? And the guy had the shirt done, and I wear it at the beach when we go to the beach.
You still have it?
Yeah, I still have it. And so that would be the
20 years
second.
later.
Yeah, that would be like the second thing that I actually had made. But in between that is so many things on the sketch pad
Yeah.
that
Never saw the light of day.
no, still that nobody's ever seen, and only because I would I would sketch stuff on the piece of paper, and when I'm watching TV and I'm out in society, I'm looking, I'm like, oh my God, I just designed that. I remember vividly a pair of boots that is kind of like almost lug style high boots that I designed, and they were kind of, I guess, gonna become what would be the style at the time, but I'd never seen it before. So I drew it only to find out that there was some designers in New York that were already ahead of that curve and they had done it, but that happened a few times with stuff
I imagine in fashion and in stylism, there's only so many variations of cuts. There's so many variations of lines that you can put in certain things without being super ostentatious, right?
Right.
That really is kind of like canon in D. Like every single musical composure that we've ever heard was completed in like 1945, 1947.
Sure.
And it's you can't. It's difficult to look at a shoe or a pair of pants or a jacket and know, oh, that came from Xenia. Oh, that came from so and so. That came from ...
Sure.
And I imagine that seeing that take place when you see other designs, like, man, I drew that 15 years ago, and here it is. You know.
Right.
Does that motivate you to keep drawing? And does it stab you a little bit, or does it make you wish you would have gone to table sooner?
All of the above. All of the above. I'll tell you, the first emotion that would hit me, honestly, man, if I could be transparent, is like a punch to the chest, like that just kind of knocks me down to an extent, like a blow, like, oh, that hurt. You know, I'm not on top of my game. I'm not doing what I need to do, and it just it kind of, not to say kills my confidence, but it'll kind of play on my confidence just a little bit.
Yeah.
Then it'll make me realize, like, hey, you got the stuff. You're tracking.
Yep.
You know, your mindset is tracking properly, and then it motivates me to get behind the sketch pad and be like, all right, they did it. What's next? You know what I'm saying? So it does all of the above. I just go through, I guess, a chain of emotion.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Stages of grief.
Now, as I've gotten older and more, I guess, emotionally mature, and look, we all works in progress, I'll be the first to tell you I am. I've probably become better with that initial blow of kind of knocking myself down or being hard on myself about not being on top of things or whatever. That only lasts for maybe a second.
You grew up, you from Carencro, Louisiana.
Yeah, man.
Right? Graduate of Carencro High.
Yes, indeed.
2000?
2001.
2001.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
I didn't get to go. They sent me to Westminster.
Oh, it's all
well,
good.
I'm not bitter.
It's all good. Yeah, you did well.
So you get out of high school and you start working.
Yes, indeed.
How much of your psychology is dedicated to wanting to do this one day? You're working for Lowe's, I believe, at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, Lowe's in Carencro, working in the appliance department.
Yes,
Never
sir.
forget, because every time I went shopping, they would think I were you, and they would ask me for help. I wasn't.
Yeah.
I didn't know what I was doing.
Yeah.
Are you thinking about your clothing brand as a 19-year-old?
No, I was not, man. It didn't occupy a lot of space in my mind, right? I was coming out of high school. I had a job before I graduated, which was at Persians.
Forgot about that, yeah.
And then immediately after that, I was just like over school.
Yeah.
I hate that I was in that place, but I was. And I wanted to go to work because I really didn't want to rely on my parents.
Yeah, which
much.
is fair.
I had relied on them for years, and I had a younger brother and sister that I knew it took a lot for them to provide. And mind you, so in graduating and prior to, I don't know if I've ever told you this, but prior to graduating, I had letters from art institutes.
I didn't know that.
Which was Art Institute Houston, Art Institute Phoenix, I believe, in Dallas. You know, they sent me packets and stuff like that and kind of invites to go and visit campus. And so I never even showed them to my parents. I took them and I tucked them under the bed because I understood that college and art school was gonna. So I was thinking about it, but it was like,
It wasn't bespoke Batiste.
No,
it was,
not
how
at
do
all. I knew I
propel?
wanted to go for design and different things like that, but I knew I didn't want to ask my parents for the money to do it. I would have much preferred them go and take care of my brother and my sister. And so I'll go and I'll work, and kind of the main focus, which was in retrospect, I guess was off. But I'm young, I don't know much. I've seen my dad and my grandpa, our parents, they work, and that's kind of the name of the game. And so I went and I did that same thing. Fast forward that, I did 5 or so years at Lowe's.
Yeah.
And between that time, I dropped the Parisian's job because I got on full time at Lowe's, and then got kind of burnt out on that. I knew there was something different out there for me, and I landed myself in the oil field,
I remember that.
which was
So how long into the oil field stint? Because there were two.
yeah,
There was furlough, then the comeback.
yeah.
At
Yeah.
what point did you recognize I have to do something for myself?
Oh man, I realized it early on, bro. So I did like 9.5 years, my first stint, and probably about year four,
Mm.
I was like, yo, there's got to be a better way. I mean, that was a hard life. You understand what I'm saying? I'm driving these big trucks and working 20, 30 hours at a time, and so on and so forth. That list goes on. But I realized it very early on, that I needed to do something different. There was something out there, and it frustrated me a whole lot. And even in that time, were really good friends of mine, Trev and Mikey George. You know them.
I do.
And so they had started a clothing line, and I was excited for them. I'm like, wow, I know I had aspired to do it, but heck, I'm happy for them that they're doing
Absolutely.
it. Not necessarily the avenue I wanted to take in fashion, but they were doing it. And I was kind of, I guess, in the shadows, and I'm not saying this to take credit or anything for what they've done. They're phenomenal. They're very creative. And they kind of asked me to help them out just with some design stuff. They kind of had an idea, and they wanted me to just sketch it out on paper. And I took that personal. I was like, wow, they believe in
Yep.
me and they trust me with their baby, partially, not fully, but that meant a lot, and I don't think they know it. And I've told them, I'm not sure if they understand how much that meant to me, but it meant a lot. And so I took part in that, and it showed me like, wow, like you are creative enough to do this, to the point where I called the Art Institute of Dallas, and I said, hey, I'd like to look at attending fashion design school. Do y'all offer it? Yes, we do offer it. Yada, 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 yada. Can you tell me what I'm gonna learn? I went through a laundry list of things that I expected. And I was like, oh, yes, sir. You can learn all of those things, and et cetera, et cetera. And so I was like, well, thank you. I was like, well, look, man, you're welcome to come up and visit campus and all this fun stuff. I'm like, that sounds great. I'm excited. And so before I hung up with the lady, I said, well, can you tell me how much this degree is gonna cost? And she said, it's gonna cost you about $98,000. This is a 4-year degree. You're more than likely to go to work for a major fashion company, Gucci's, Tom Ford's, etc. once you graduate from this school. I said, well, thank you so much. This was an awesome call. we were, I think, expecting Zion. No, we were expecting Zion, or Zion was already born. And I'm like, I have a wife, I just got married, and I have a son, and I'm not gonna have them suffer for what I should have done years ago. I'm not gonna be able to do it, but thank you. I appreciate your time. And then we hung up, and I was just kind of lost and discouraged. And I'm like, how can I do this? But I did not stop sketching.
I wasn't going to ask you this question, but now that I know that story, which I did not know, I have to ask this question.
Go for it.
Do you believe or feel within any capacity that attending an art institute would have made you any better an artist today otherwise?
Absolutely.
Really?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes. And so one thing I've learned about life in general, man, is that you don't know where you're going to end up, and there's some education. You're not going to go and have coffee, and who knows where that conversation goes, and I learn something from you, or you inspire me, even more importantly, right? Being creative is all about being inspired for me. Whatever sparks my curiosity or my interest can inspire me to whatever degree.
Yeah.
So just being in that technical professional setting where I could learn some of the technical aspects of art, because I did not learn any of the technical aspects of art when I was in school. I fast forwarded through all the lessons. I was just pretty good with the pen and paper.
Yeah.
And so just learning some of the technical aspects of design, and not to say I would adopt them fully, but they were tools I could have had in my
Right.
toolbox and kind of learned early on.
Yeah.
And be networking. Who knows who I would have gone. Now, don't get me wrong. I believe that our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ is great, and He brings people into our lives
Absolutely.
that can help us and catapult us. But He also gives us free will to kind of be in a situation, you
Absolutely.
know. And so I'm not gonna call it a shoulda, coulda, woulda, but it could have aided, you know, to my direction, just in
Absolutely.
terms of learning and building connections and stuff like that. Really, so I would watch TV to learn about anything outside of Louisiana,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, we
So
didn't travel much as kids.
no, so going to one of these schools and meeting different people and seeing a different part of the world would have also, you know, would have inspired me as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, that's
So
beautiful.
I don't regret it though.
So 5 years ago, you launch in the
Yeah.
midst of COVID.
Yeah,
You
man.
launch a
Yeah,
clothing
man.
company that requires you to touch people and measure them and do.
Bro.
We'll get into that maybe another day, or maybe
Eh,
even off camera. But I don't imagine, Harold, that when you launched, you were like, there's loads of fabric companies in Lafayette. I'm
nope.
going to start my business and
No.
do fabric in Lafayette. How did you even find out where to get fabric from, and where did you go to get it?
Oh, bro. Okay, heavy question. So, but it's cool though. It's cool when I think back about it. So prior to 2020 is when this all started.
Right.
Probably 2018. Right. I'm sending emails out. Because I'm not finding it here. And mind you, I've searched, and I send emails out a lot here in the States, and then a lot overseas. You know, India, Spain, Asia, China, everywhere, Italy. And emails are falling on deaf ears. You know, nobody's responding. And I gave up on that for a while. And then I took that same email list and I started emailing again. And I finally got a few little responses. And the one response I got was from a fashion forum organization, where they offer mentoring and
Oh, wow.
they kind of help you build connections and stuff like that. And with some of the folks I was prior to meeting the organizer of that organization, or the head of that organization, I was talking to some people overseas, and then just via email, and turns out that two of them were going to be there. One was going to help me with sourcing fabrics and finding tailors, and the other was going to help me with shoes, which I wanted to get into, right?
My favorite.
And so I'm like, all right, tell my wife, I'm like, okay, we got to go to New York. She's like, okay, you know, I'm like, hey, these are our expenses. This is what it's going to take for us to do what we got to do. Well, the trip to New York was January 2020, just before
Yeah.
this happened. And so,
COVID hit in March, I believe.
yeah, and so we go to New York, January 2020. I'll never forget, it's around my dad's birthday. And so I missed his first birthday. I missed in years, but I'm like, hey, Pop, I got to do what I got to do. So we go. And even getting out there, I'm overwhelmed, right? Because one of the people that I went to see, I didn't see him, but I'm leaving this forum. I'm walking out, and there's a guy that says, "Hey, you, I got what you need. You need to come in here and you need to come talk to me." It was Bob. I'm
Like present day Bob?
yeah,
Like the Bob that still makes
yeah,
this
does my
Bob?
stuff, yeah. And so I'm like, all right, bro, let me have it. You know, let me hear what you got to say. You know, I'm lost anyway. I'm ready to go home. You know, and so I go in there. He's like, hey, you can have all of this. I'm like, what can I have? He's like, I'm like, look, man, I don't have anything. I'm starting from scratch. I'm starting from the ground floor. And dude was like, no worries, man, I got you. He's like, let me show you something. And he showed me a bulletproof blazer. That's the first thing he shows me. I'm like, listen, I'm from a real small town in Louisiana. There's
James
nobody
Bond's
that
here.
needs it. Thank you. He's like, no, just calm down. Come into, and he brought me into another area of the room. It was fabric everywhere. And so we worked out the business deal, told me what my financial investment would be. And I felt good about it, but I just was unsure, you know? And so I get back to the room. I'm like, okay, when I get home, I'm gonna go do this bank transfer, and I'm gonna send him this money. But right after I left that meeting, I went to another meeting, which is at a different place, and I met Juan, the guy that does
I know
our
Juan.
shoes, right? You know him well.
I know Juan well.
And so we formed a pretty good partnership there. And even then I was skeptical, but by the time I got home, I was set up on a platform to do shoe designs. And I'd sent a deposit over to Bob, and I told my wife, I looked at her, I said, hey, all I'm waiting on is boxes in the mail.
Yeah.
If these fabrics come, and I made a pretty decent investment. I'm like, if these fabrics come, it's over. I'm good. I'll have what I need. And then a few weeks later, we got fabrics, and I'm like, this is unbelievable.
Yeah.
This is. I'm like, okay, now that I got the fabrics, let's kind of share some designs and see, with this. And I had seen some examples of the work when I was up in New York. But long story short, man, a trip to New York changed everything.
Hey guys, Tim Charlo here with Conversations in Bayou Creative, and today we're sitting down with somebody very near and dear to my heart. My first cousin and brother, Harold Batiste, who's the founder of Bespoke Batiste here in Lafayette, Louisiana. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you on the other side. Cheers. Harold, thank you so much for sitting down with me for part 3.
You're welcome.
In
Thanks for
case anyone missed part 1 or part 2, can you tell us who you are and what do you do?
All right, Harold Batiste, clothier of men and women's tailored suits here in the Lafayette and Acadiana area. As I stated before, it's what I do. It's what God has blessed me to be able to do. But my main job is husband to my wife Latoya and father to my son Zion and my daughter Araya.
Nice. Do you ever refer to yourself as a chaussier, which a lot of people know chaussier is a shoemaker, right? And Geoffrey Chaussier, who was an author and poet, I think around the time of Edgar Allan Poe, not Edgar Allan Poe, William Shakespeare.
Okay.
He's called chaussier because his dad was a shoemaker. Do you ever refer to yourself as a chaussier?
No, I have not, man. And only because I gauge myself probably kind of hard, right? I guess on successes and earning my stripe in that arena or earning my respect in that arena. We've dabbled, I think, when it comes to shoes and custom shoes. And
am I still the largest shoe collector of Bespoke Batiste shoes so far?
Yes, sir.
I never want to lose that moniker.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, we run a lot of the ideas by you anyway. I want to do so much more when it comes to shoes, man. There's so much more I want to learn. I'm up watching YouTube on different cobblers and how they, different parts of the world, even the country, and how they make shoes, and still a lot. You think a shoe is real simple, but man, we're like 6 weeks on production on a pair.
Yeah, 6 weeks.
That's
my favorite 6 weeks of my life.
It's a shoe, and it sounds simple, but it's really not, man. When it comes to leather selection, and
hand
leather
patinas,
type,
and
patinas, etc., welting and soles and all of that stuff. So we want to grow so much more in that arena. So we're working some things out, man. I'm still learning, still growing, but I'd like to someday call myself that. Yeah,
I'm your Huckleberry. If you need a guinea pig, I got you.
No, come on.
So in lieu of your successes, and I've been wanting to ask you this question for a long time, now that I have a platform to do it on.
Yeah.
What have been some of your favorite designs you've ever done? Suits, shoes, whatever.
All right, let's see here. So, obviously, I think the shoes that we've done for you, man, have been the jokers, to be exact. We themed them, and they go with that shirt you're wearing, right? We themed them and kind of, I think, designed everything else around the shoe. Started off with the purple lace up. I don't remember if it's a whole cut or a cap toe.
It's a cap toe.
It's a cap toe, right?
Yeah, a cap toe.
Yeah, and it's got that purple patina. I think we got green laces on it. And, it was so cool, man. And I posted it, I got so many compliments and people that loved it. So I like, and even the ones you have on, I love those too. But when it comes to, I guess, and even the jacket and the shirt we did to go along with that, that was
the jacket's still my favorite.
Phenomenal. You know what I'm saying? That really made my heart sing, man. When we was able to bring that whole thing together, and I think it meant a lot because of who it was for, and it's for you, obviously. Us having been in each other's lives since birth for the most part.
41 years.
Yeah. So that meant a whole lot to me. Both of our loves for fashion, that resonated. Not only that, but the designs, I think, were phenomenal.
They were.
Everything went, perfect together. The next thing is right behind you, which is that tuxedo with African silk embroidered flowers on it. It's got some fuchsias, it's got some greens, and it's a pretty unique fabric. So I sourced that fabric from a mill. I believe they may have been either from Africa or India. I don't remember. But I found it online before the company even started.
Oh, wow.
I found the fabric, and I was just going back and forth with the seller. And I'm like, can you tell me about it? I was like, well, it's African silk embroidered flowers that's on the fabric. It's a brocade or a jacquard.
Yep.
And so I was like, yeah, I'd like to have it. I'd like to, get as much as I can. It's like, well, we have like 7.8 meters left. I'm like, okay, well, when you make more, I would love it. There's like, no, you understand? This is it.
Oh, my.
If you buy it, there will be no more. I'm like, well, send me the bill. I'm buying it. And so I bought it, and I didn't ship it. I don't even think I had connections with Bob yet, but I had it shipped to the house, and I laid the fabric out. I was like, this is going to be a jacket one day. Showed it to my wife. She was like, yeah, I don't know, dear. I'm like, I'm telling you, I have a vision. And so when the company started, I tried to sell it to some clients, and they weren't biting, right? It was the vision that God gave me, right? And I thought it was a vision for somebody else to wear, but it was a vision for me to wear. And so I was doing a fashion show, which was going to be my debut.
Wait, is that the jacket I wore for the fashion show?
No, you wore purple.
I wore the purple jacket.
Wore the purple.
You wore
When was that fashion show? Was it 21?
Katie and the Fashion Week, 21.
Was it 21?
21,
Yeah.
yep.
And so I was the world opened up again, and I was able to go outside. And so I had the jacket cut for myself because nobody would buy it. And so we cut it, and I wore it, and I absolutely loved it. The response I got was amazing. I loved it so much. I called my tailor, and I was like, hey, do we have any of that fabric left? I want to make a jacket for my son. And I'm like, biting my nails. Excuse me. And he's like, we have just enough. Zion was smaller at the time. There's his
like
picture
10,
up there.
10
yeah. And so we made it for him, and him and I did a photo shoot. Brandon Roshan shot did that shoot over in River Ranch. And we just got amazing responses for it. I've worn that over the last 5 years, a number of 3 times, all different combinations of trouser, shirt, and bow tie. So that's one of my favorites. And Lord, man, we've done so much, and it's like everybody that comes through these doors is extra special.
Yep. Because it's never the same.
Right, and they take the time to come and see me, and I can kind of offer them a piece of my heart, if you will, when these designs leave the door. They like we birth them, and they go out and live with their respective owners. But let's see what sticks out. Oh, I did a pink and black crossbody half and half suit or tuxedo for a gentleman in Houston. Good friend of mine, Byron George, his son was going to prom. And I just so happened to be in Houston. I was able to sit down with them and kind of talk about, and coincidentally, what they were thinking and what I was thinking for him was the same.
Wow.
This like crossbody half deal. And so all we really had to do is figure out color. And I had never done it before. But they were thinking it, and I was thinking it. And when they mentioned it, I'm like, "Are you serious?" I'm like, "Yeah." Are you brave enough to wear this? Because I'll design it. I've got an idea already. And so we did that. That went over well. It was pink and black. Pink and black.
If you grew up in the 1980s and 90s, your parents had a bathroom that was pink and black.
Yeah, that was pretty, man. That was beautiful. It was beautiful. So we did that for him. I did a green and white suit for Zion. It actually
that was probably one of my favorites.
Kind of a little crossbody deal. It had his name monogrammed on the jacket. It was probably a little young, but it was cool.
You're his dad. You can do what you want.
He wore it for his 8th grade, award ceremony. And so that went over pretty cool.
While we're on this subject, Eden needs a suit for prom. She wants to wear a suit next year.
Suit?
She wants to wear a pantsuit for prom,
man,
which I think is so dope.
Yeah, it's going to be super.
We'll talk about that off camera,
clean.
though.
Yeah, the idea's flowing already.
So despite everything you've loved and your favorite designs, it's not all been rainbows and unicorns, right?
No, it's been...
We had a little controversy
with
some Kentucky Derby historians.
Yeah.
It was all positive. I just want to make that very clear.
Yeah, it was cool.
Talk us through what took place.
So it was, growing up where we grew up, man, our grandfather was into horses, and we grew up on a small farm where he had all these stuff. And I've always took a liking to it. I've never ridden as much as our cousin rides, but I'm interested, and I liked it. And so I became inspired and watching the Secretariat movie, and I did like a prototype of a jockey jersey silk, but I made it into a shirt. and it was composed of all of the colors of I forget the gentleman's name that wrote Secretary back in '73. But it was composed of all those same colors and kind of almost mimicked it. And so I had the shirt and I wore it and I took a couple of pictures and I posted it. It went crazy. And so long story short, like the brand that owns that got in touch with me. They own the name actually, and I had no idea it was this big brand. So it was like, yo, this is cool, but like if you want to like produce this, you're gonna have to purchase a license to do it. You know, I'm young, and I say young in business, and I'm inspired, and I'm kind of like rocking and rolling. I'm like, oh, this will be cool, boom. And so this prototype was done, and it was like, yeah, you're gonna have to get a license. And you know, we were close to like doing all the paperwork and doing all that stuff. And I'm like, man, you know, this is not necessarily my bread and butter.
Right.
I specialize in suits. You know, it was kind of more along the lines of a casual shirt, but it was cool. And so I opted out of doing that, and with respect to
Absolutely.
the brand they built, man.
It's their brand. They earned that brand.
Absolutely, man, absolutely. And I could do nothing but respect that and respect their wishes in terms of that. I just knew it wasn't. And I'm not saying in the future we wouldn't explore that option, you know what I'm saying? But it's not necessarily in my scope of work, if you will. I mean, we're capable, but.
Has it made you gun shy in honoring some of the historic things that we love and like researching licenses and brand appeals and all that?
No, not necessarily, man. I think a good way to pay homage to a lot of those things is more so instead of doing a mimic,
yeah,
you do a spinoff.
Yeah. Imitation is the greatest form of flattery.
Yeah, you know, and because here's the truth, man, like especially 70s time frame for me personally is extremely inspiring. I love that time frame. Fashion was phenomenal. It was different. If I could go back and live in any time, I'd go probably back and live in that time. Life was simple and fashion was really cool. And so I'll pull bits and pieces and elements from that time frame and just do spin-offs and stuff like that. And I think that pays homage enough and kind of bridges the gap between your modern day dandy and kind of what those guys and gals done.
I do miss the bell bottoms.
Yeah.
Of all I see you wearing a pair.
I'm loving it,
that
man.
are honoring the bell bottoms right now.
I'm loving it, man.
I think if we brought that back with the high-waisted double buttons.
I'm loving it, man. So I'm doing a lot of it, and I'm doing a lot of it, especially here, like in South Louisiana. I'll try all kind of stuff.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't think like I'm from here, but I am. I dream outside of here,
right.
You know, and I'm just not afraid to try stuff. I've come out of my shell.
Yeah, big time.
Shy anymore.
Big time.
And so I've posted a pair recently on my socials, and I had a guy reach out. He wants like 2 or 3 pair of just the trousers. I'm like, good move. I think you should absolutely cut 3 pair,
Yeah.
You know. But I don't know, man. My goal is for everybody to walk around as the individual that they are.
Absolutely.
You know, I dress in a pretty unique style, but when you come into my showroom, the objective is not to dress you like me,
right.
but to dress you like you.
Right.
Firm believer that everybody has their own fashion fingerprint.
Absolutely.
And so my job as a clothier is to figure out what that fingerprint is if you don't already know. Or if you already know what it is, my job is to help you expand or
right.
enhance
Let's
it.
refine it.
If you wish me to do so. And but it's totally the client's show when they come in here.
How can someone get in touch with you to make that fingerprint reality?
Easiest way, man, is to give me a call.
Okay.
337-278-2602. I'm not an untouchable person. Am I a busy person? Absolutely. May not answer on the first ring, but if you call or text, or even better, send me an email.
Yeah.
info@bespokebatiste.com. Or if you go to my website, there's a little form you can go in and fill out and kind of give me a rundown of what you're looking to get, which helps me out a whole lot. And you list your phone number there, and by the time I call you, I already have an idea of what you want.
Right.
So we can talk a little bit more in depth. That's probably
Is the website bespokebatiste.com or bespokebatissecollection.com?
bespokebatiste.com.
Okay, bespokebatiste.com.
Yep.
Excellent.
Yes, sir.
So 5 years in,
Yeah.
40-year dream.
Yeah, man.
If there's one thing you can say to the people that have supported you up to this point, what would it be?
Man, this is gonna be cliche, but thank you.
Gratitude is never cliche, by the way.
From the bottom, right. You know, from the bottom of my heart, man, this is new for me. being somebody that was super duper shy to, I guess, somebody that people know now
Yeah.
is very new, kind of weird, but I appreciate it so much. And when you say people that have supported me, I'm not talking about you've come in and shopped, but you've
Liked the post.
reposted something,
Yep.
you've liked the
Yep.
post, or you've told your friend or friends and family about me. That's just huge, man. I was talking to somebody before I started the company, and we were sitting down, and I was telling this lady my business idea, and she was gonna, I guess, do some business mentoring and give me some direction. And she questioned me starting this business here in Lafayette. And this is no knock to her. I don't remember the lady's name, but it seemed odd in that time,
Yeah.
right? Lafayette is generally pretty small. Well, it's big enough for me.
Right.
And so, and this is what I told her. She's like, well, maybe you should go to a bigger city to launch this. And I said, well, you're a quality person, right? And she said, yeah. I said, I'm a quality person. Would you agree with you? After having a conversation with me, she said, yes. I said, well, that's two of us. So think about how many quality people in Lafayette and surrounding areas that want quality clothing. I said, the only problem is they don't know me
Right.
or what I'm capable of doing.
Right.
But once we can show them that it's available here in Lafayette, quality people, I believe, are going to come. In 2020, we sold 3 tuxedos.
2020.
One to my brother, one to a cousin of mine, and one to a couple that somebody recommended to me in North Louisiana. And I posted pictures of all 3. And after I've done that, the people here have been calling my phone and coming.
Do you know how many tuxedos you sold in 2024?
I don't know how much we did in 2024, but I don't know how many in terms of just how many we did. I ran it, but I don't remember.
Okay.
But I know we had a significant increase in business.
2024 was a big year.
Yeah, and it's trended upward since 2020. So, man, we ever grateful. People tell me good job all the time, and I take it.
Yeah,
Don't get me wrong. All right, I take it, but I couldn't be me if I didn't have canvases to put this fabric on and people to trust me with their weddings, proms, etc., or even lawyers and the courtrooms that they enter with some of our ensembles. So without the support, bro, I can't do it. I can't do it. And all praise to the Most High God to sending me people.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? And bro, allowing me to be as creative as I can, time and time and time. I look back and I'm like, Lord, I can't. There's no way this is me.
Right.
You put this in me. And my wife told me one day, she's like, this is not on you. This is in you, what you do. And so, obviously, I thank the people, but I thank God.
Yeah.
I thank God just for the gift that He
Beautiful,
chose
man.
me to have. He entrusted
He choose me to do it.
It's
Messing
just.
people up.
I've been so thankful for the work that He's done in my life.
That's awesome, man.
In my business. Man.
I remember, and you know me, you know where my support, you know how I view local support.
Yes, sir.
I'm a huge support local guy, right?
Yeah.
But I'm also going to support my closest associates.
Surely.
Pocketbooks. And we argue about you want to do certain things for me that I don't want you to do because you're trying to be nice and supportive.
Yeah.
But man, I from a personal perspective, thank you, because a lot of people don't know this, but it took me 9 years to get a pair of purple shoes made. I got turned in by every manufacturer in the country.
That's crazy, man.
And you were like, oh no, I got this. 6 weeks later, I had purple shoes.
And we
man.
did it. We did it, man. Thank you for entrusting me, brother.
Hey man, look, in
cool.
fact, when we get off camera, we need to.
Yes, have some stuff. Talk about some things, man.
Al, thank you so much, man. I had
brother.
a blast. I had a
Me too.
blast. Again, thank you so much. I had a blast from a personal perspective. As you found out, this is my first cousin. We grew up like brothers. I'm 41 and I've known him for 41 years. For you to stay up to date on what's going on next here on Conversations, I want you to smash that like button, crush that subscribe button, and ring the notification bell. Cheers.